What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Huddle Up podcast presented by our new sponsor. Just happened actually this week. The Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, Toyota of Ardmore, Jeremy Hodge Chevy GMC, and the new dealership, Jeremy Hodge Honda of Ardmore. Take the drive down 35. Brand new, pre-owned, doesn't matter. Hodge has it. So we're thankful for them and their sponsorship for us. But tonight, special guest. I try to always do something new and exciting and fresh and a little different perspective on things. I know as a coach, sometimes we get bogged down with X's and O's and all kinds of different stuff. And then we talk, football as a whole. But I want to kind of break down some things for people that may not understand the side of recruiting that most people don't get to see. And that's behind the scenes. And tonight, joined by my guest, co-publisher of OUinsider, On3 and Rivals, Mr. Brandon Drumm. Brandon, thank you for joining me tonight.
What's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole lot, dude. We're, coming off this bye week and see what happens. I know in your world it's always 24/7, no matter football season or not. So appreciate you taking the time. So
For sure. Leaving a surprise 7 a.m. tomorrow for Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
For sure. So we're going to get into it right off the bat because I know you're pressed for time and everything like that. So we're just going to get into it. We're going to talk all things recruiting tonight. We're going to start with the evolution of recruiting. And I don't know, a lot of people who don't necessarily follow OU, even people that do follow OU, you've been in this game for a long time. You're one of the OGs of, high school recruiting, stuff like that. You've seen it kind of at the ground floor. Everything like that. Kind of take us through your journey, through OU. You're a Sooner. You're not just one of the fans that follow the team. You're invested. You went to school there, and then just kind of your timeline and how you got started in, recruiting and following and doing what you do.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I grew up. I think everybody grew up on James Hill. So like as much as people dog on him, and I'm not one that does, but people that do, and I was an avid, even as a little kid, my dad would be dropping me off at school in 7:30 on the Sports Animal or WWLS back in the day. I don't think it was called Sports Animal at the time. I would literally tell my dad, okay, stop. I'm not getting out of the car until I listened to his call-in on recruiting. And he would do it every morning, or I think it was like twice a week or something like that. And so I knew 7:30, I'm going to sit there and listen to the recruiting. I'd love to hear just the growth of the team, the new personnel they were going to be bringing. It just always fascinated me. I don't know why. And probably because I dreamed of being that as well. And then as I got, and I think also, funnily enough, I'm from Piedmont. And there was a girl by the name of Mandy Stuber, and I wanted Sherry Cole to recruit her so badly. She was an all-state basketball player at Piedmont. She went on to be a really good basketball player at Oklahoma State. And James Hill and I have talked about this before, actually. And Sherry never offered her. And she ended up being a really good player at Oklahoma State. Is what it is. And obviously Sherry became an all-time great at OU, so it's not like it didn't work out for Sherry Cole. But yeah, that's where my interest started drawing in from, was ironically women's basketball recruiting. Yeah. And James covered it. And so then it just became, as I got in high school, I was going up against a lot of these guys, right? And I started getting recruited and all that type of stuff. And I remember myself, a guy by the name of Ben Hall, Ronnie Osborne, and Dusty Gillis got to go to McGinnis, and we got our Rivals and profiles, and the Daily Oklahoman did a special on us and all that type of stuff. And they had all the top kids from in-state there taking photos. You had backdrops and stuff. It's basically called Media Day at the time. Yep. And so we did that, and that interests me even more. I go to SWAZU, was there for a couple of years and then transferred out and ended up in Norman. But, it just was – that's just how it was, man. I mean, I wrote for the school paper at SWAZU. Even when playing sports, like that's what you did. Like it was fun. Did intramurals with all my buddies like that. And I don't know, I just got to love the game of football and basketball. And everybody used to call my friends used to call me the program because I would know everybody's stats,
Yeah.
high school, and all that type of stuff. And just a passion that, didn't so much turn into it right out of college because I ended up going and working for my dad.
Yeah. Well, there was like back in the day, if you think about it, early 2000s and even getting into there wasn't really a
Wasn't
platform,
nope,
for that stuff. People were just like, wait, you're going to make money following around high school kids and seeing where they're going to go to school and doing all like it wasn't what it was today. And we'll get into that here in a minute, but it's funny to see kind of that path. And even a lot of people even forget about James Hale, but yeah, I remember back in the day, the same thing and all that stuff. And it just, that side of the thing always intrigued me. And then that's part of the reason I got into coaching too. But yeah,
yep.
it's a fun journey and to see your passion turn into something that you get to, do for a living.
There's luck involved.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Luck, super luck. And I mean,
Yep.
just the luck was, so my cousin, her husband is brothers with Nick Hodgson, who was a kicker
Yep.
for OU. So, and the funny enough, like, and we're all super close. Our family's close. We did Thanksgivings together and all that type of stuff. So we got to know people. And then a guy that was working underneath me out when I was working, I went in the Air Force, obviously, after I started to work for my dad. And I got medically retired out, and I came back here, and I ended up working in inventory for an oil company. And there was a guy that was working there, and he now owns and is like one of the big trainers that people work with now. I won't name names or anything, so I don't know people, but I became friends with him, and he was training all the OU guys, and I would get all this insider information and stuff, and I would kind of talk about it on, multiple spots. There was secret message boards, and there was other outlier boards, and Super K, they call him at TFB, just kind of found me and said, hey, come on our stuff and, just be kind of an insider for us. I said, cool, I can do that because I have connections with the program and stuff. And I had already learned from school, like how to source and, all that type of stuff. And, because journalism, a lot of it is relationships. And that's what a lot of people think it's like super easy. It's not easy to get people to trust you. It is not easy to get people to trust you. It's not easy to befriend people that already have their guard up all the time. It's just not. And so, like, I learned a lot of those things through schooling. And next thing I know, I just decided I wanted to branch out. I told them, I was like, look, you guys already cover recruiting. All the guys that I played against middle school and high school, and even some of the guys I went to college with, or against college and stuff like that, they're coaching now. Yeah. Like Sean Cooper down there was coaching, and now he's doing all the training. Like that, the connections were just deep. And I was like, let me cover recruiting for you.
Just kind of struck while the iron was hot too, and that's good. So that just leads us into the evolution of recruiting, and we're going to talk about that. And but here's the first question for you: how has it changed from when you first started to now? I mean, we could spend all night probably on just this topic, but just kind of kick us off with a little bit of that.
Oh man, I mean, look, I think it starts with social media, and everybody wants to go straight from, well, NIL changed everything. That wasn't the beginning. Social media and these kids building their brands up in high school and becoming larger than life before they got to college, pre-NIL. You're talking, let's talk Caleb Williams. Yep. Let's talk Tony Jefferson, Brennan Clay, like
Cali Trio.
Like the Cali Trio, yep. Right? Like they were so big. Cali Sooners hashtag. They became superstars before they got to Oklahoma.
Yep. I remember that, like, being the first big, like, okay, well, the nostalgia of, all right, these three are going to come in and wow, they're going to change the program. Like there was a lot of noise even before they, like when they were juniors in high school, seniors in high school, even before they got to OU, it was like, it was a following. So yeah.
They recruited guys, and it became kind of a deal where the OU fan base, the second Twitter was created, was the second recruiting changed for everything. It was Facebook, then Instagram, and then Twitter. And Twitter became kind of a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed everything in recruiting. It created essentially what happened to the NCAA football game and obviously Ed O'Bannon was all done. Like if Twitter didn't exist, never happened. It never happens because nobody thinks you can make money being famous. And you could, because you had Joe Mixons of the world that would have 30,000 followers before they got to Oklahoma. You would have, trying to think of another big name. I mean, remember Chris Robeson?
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude was like larger than life as a quarterback before he got to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Justin Broyles on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, Buki. I mean, there's so many guys that you look at back then thinking if they would have been in the NIL era, they would have made a fortune.
Yeah.
Wherever they
Well,
went.
that's been the question even now that it's popped up is, okay, like somebody like Brian Bosworth. Oh my gosh, like Baker Mayfield, like unbelievable. Like, and they're still able, some of those guys like Baker and a few of those guys I've talked to are, they're able to make some of that money back a little bit, but nowhere near like, holy cow. Could you imagine, some of those guys that were, in Julio Jones and like some of these guys that were, I'm like, that'd be unbelievable. Yep. Tim Tebow, like,
Kel Gundy would have been a millionaire. Dude, I don't think people my age remember it. And there's a funny story with Kel Gundy and me, but he can tell you it. He chewed my ass out so hard. Yeah. And like he'll tell you about it. He chewed I was out past curfew. I was talking to Jason White. We were on like the little recruit level. Yeah. And I was talking to Jason White. Do you remember James Killion from Bedford? Right? Yeah. Or Morrison, I can't remember which one it was, but do you remember oh my gosh, the dude that passed away from Vian, the tight end, Terrell Francis.
Yeah.
We were all like leaning out. It's fine. It's neither here nor there, but we're leaning out. I hear this ding in Couch Hall. Turns the corner, and I mean, he makes eye contact with me. And I swear it was like a cartoon. I went from the head of the bed underneath the thing as fast as I could into the covers. He pulls a drum. You think you're freaking funny? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, he's ripping my butt standing over me. It's one of the funniest stories ever. But, yeah, dude, like Kel Gundy in high school, he was a superstar. He was so valued that he was going to follow his brother's footsteps, and he chooses Oklahoma over Oklahoma State. That was such a big deal. And I can remember it. I can remember who else? But Ryan Humphreys out of high school in basketball would have made money like you couldn't hand over fist. Yeah. Because he was so wanted for football and basketball, right? It was such a big deal that Oklahoma got a McDonald's All-American.
Well, and I mean, if you talk about basketball, I know we're talking about football, but like Blake Griffin, like unbelievable. Could you imagine the deals that he could have got as an NIL?
Yeah, like Blake Griffin, yeah, but and
Trey Young,
Trey wasn't. They weren't like huge on social media though. Yeah, they would have made money, but they didn't really take advantage of the social media aspect. Yeah, it just changed so much with Twitter. Yeah. And then you fast forward to 2021 when they passed the NIL, and it didn't change like real quickly. It didn't change quickly. It changed in that, I guess, it didn't really ramp up until 23. So it was like a 2-year lag on the money part outside of A&M. That 22 A&M class was an outlier. They were ahead of the curve as far as
with that collective and
collective and everything else. Florida was ahead of the curve at the time too because they were one of the first collectives, not the first collective.
Yeah. And so, and then Texas had their little lineman club or whatever it was, Pancake Club, and
So there were certain universities that were ahead of the curve. Recruiting changed too as far as communication goes. Like if you want to go back to 2009, they were starting to DM kids on social media, and then it was kind of illegal to do that. It was okay to retweet the offer of the kid. Now you can't retweet that. If they tag you, you can't retweet that they were offered. You can't acknowledge the fact that they were offered. Like so many things have changed in that. Like there's stupid rules that make no sense
Yep.
that the NCAA did just to say, oh, we're in power still when they're really not. And so, yeah, 2023 though was just kind of the avalanche that just broke.
Yeah. So, yeah, with that though, you're talking about the NIL and it completely reshaped the recruiting game. You know, what you can you pinpoint what like one of the biggest impacts you've seen so far with, you know, the NIL and how it's reshaped you know, recruiting other than you're now getting to pay kids obviously money. Is there any other things that what'd you say?
The government's involved. Like
Oh
state
yeah.
governments are involved. That's what's changed. You would never see governors or state legislatures caring about where a kid's going to go to freaking school, dude. Not until NIL got involved, and they're writing their own bills to help their universities get a leg up on the other schools in different states and all that type of stuff. Like that, to me, is the biggest kind of shift in college athletics more than anything else. The money part, that was always happening. It just now it's out in the open.
Yep. And you see how much schools are willing to pay or boosters or whoever are willing to pay, because I mean, I have stories and I know you have a ton, probably more stories that, you know, you know firsthand, hey, oh, I know exactly what this so-and-so player was making while they were at school before the NIL, before it was legal to pay players. And, you know, some people would just be like, holy cow, like, really? Yeah.
LSU's 2019 national title was Austin Thomas, and it doesn't matter now. The dude, he's still the general. He's back being the general manager at LSU, but he was different. He was on the road recruiting. I'm not going to say he was doing things that were not on the up and up at the time, not legal at the time, because I'm not going to, slander anything. But you guys can take it for what it's worth. If you remember, there was a linebacker that was committed to Oklahoma, and all of a sudden, overnight, after he played in the Army All-American game in San Antonio, Buki commits to Oklahoma, right? That 2017 class, that 2018 class looks like it's going to be phenomenal. Yeah, Jacob Phillips is who it is. Yeah, like it's one of the facts.
And I'm just throwing up any comment that comes out. So if
you know who it is. I mean, everybody knows who it is.
Yeah, it's just like
his dad worked night shift at the time. You can't fault the kid. The kid was forced to do so. And I can sit here and verifiably tell you that even after he was at LSU for the first few years, he would call and be very emotional with the OU players that are at Oklahoma, saying how much he wishes he was in Norman. Now, 3 years after the fact, hell no. That dude won a national title and he was an All-American.
Yeah.
But the first few years, he was not having fun at LSU. He was doing it for his family. And, they had the first, he was a general manager. Like Austin Thomas was a general manager. That was one of the first times I ever saw that. And people started doing that type of stuff because they saw LSU be so successful with it under Orgeron. So, like, that was another shift. Like, there's so many things that we could talk about, man. Drew, we could go all day. Like, these little microcosms of shifts that were just like, you can kind of equate it to like a tectonic plate, where like a little shift here and a little shift there. And they're like little tremors, right? Until NIL took place. And then you're having like an 8.0 on the Richter scale as far as like the earthquake, as far as what recruiting turned into and where it is now. And now it's still changing every year.
Well, you're starting to see that, like you said, we talked about the schools that kind of pioneered the collectives and did all that stuff. And then other schools were just trying to see what shook out from all that and saying, okay, well, now we need to put our own plans together and like the One Oklahoma Collective, things like that other schools have done that are, okay, let's wait and see how these schools do it and try to do it better. And then we'll roll out something that's a little bit better. And then you see another school doing it. And so it's just keeping, trying to keep up with not only recruiting players, but all right, our budget, in some of these schools, if people really understood how much money is spent in recruiting and just the budgets that some of these schools have just for recruiting, it is unreal. And that's not even counting NIL and collectives and stuff. That's just, hey, the earmarked stuff that we do for official visits and
everyday mail.
Yep.
Your recruiting staff, your scouting staff that Oklahoma has, your general managers. You're talking upwards.
Well, the food that you're feeding all these recruits when they come in, holy cow. Like, I don't know if people have been around some of those events and stuff like that. Like Champion Barbecue is like
tomahawk steaks for everybody. Come on now.
Jeez,
it's insanity. I think Oklahoma spends upwards of $8-9 million a year, something to that extent, just to recruit for football. Not talking basketball, not talking softball, baseball, which you add that up, you go across the whole athletic department, you're probably looking at about $15 million a year. Just recruiting. Just to get kids to go to OU. Not even the NIL, not the profit sharing, to fly them in, to pay for them when they get there. It is just unbelievable.
I think it's times like 3,000 right there. Not only are you a salesman, but you're the whole dealership, like you've got to make sure that every car's got,
well,
and then retention too is another thing that is huge, because now these kids, and that's a separate topic maybe for another day, but it's not only are you recruiting your recruiting class for the next year, but it could look totally different with the kids that maybe are leaving and the transfer portal on top of that. And so it's unbelievable. And I think that was another shift and another impact in recruiting and NIL was the fact that these kids can now jump from school to school without, sitting out. How do you feel about that, by the way?
Well, first and foremost, I think it starts with the scouting departments and the front offices now. Yep. So that again, another shift.
Yep.
Where
GMs, yep.
Yeah, the general manager, the Jim Nagys of the world, right? So like you look at that and you have a whole department. Basically, you're running a smaller NFL team. Yep. And not really smaller, probably larger.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about, roster size, it's because you got 53 that are on an NFL team plus your practice squad guys, but then
which is only like
college, you're you're allowed, you're 105 or whatever it is now, but it's,
But so that part right there is probably one of the bigger shifts that I've seen, and not everybody's going that route. So Oklahoma kind of at the forefront of that with the scouting departments and all that. It's going to be interesting to see how that works long term. I think short term, you're starting to see things because, before we even got on there, you were like, man, look, next year's class is looking amazing. And that's everybody's response right now is 27 because they're like one or two, depending on what, what service you look at, right? Yep. So, 26 though, the fact that this front office group is now about to pull off a heist of all heists from several schools. There are others. I haven't even. There's a note on OUinsider right now, and it kind of is a big picture thing, and big picture but very small, kind of. It's what they do really well. They ID people. They talk to their representation behind the scenes, even though these kids are committed elsewhere. Oklahoma, everybody wants to talk about Messiah Mickens, but there's two other running backs out there that Oklahoma could just be swiping in that are big time and just taken for the keep right now. Like, that's what they're doing. And that's not the only position that they could be doing that over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Like, this thing is getting interesting is because they were so far behind when they decided they were going to go that route, Jim Nagy had to change everything about how Oklahoma operated. Like, BV was in charge of talking to kids, helping negotiate with everything, with the collective and all that. He doesn't have to worry about that crap anymore. And you're probably seeing a lot of that work on the field as well, because he can now be so solely focused.
Well, and that goes too for your position coaches. A lot of those in like your coordinators and stuff like that. And you know, I have relationships with a lot of college coaches and stuff like that, and that's what they say. They're like, man, we can spend a lot of time doing what we're supposed to do, and not only is that, but that's a part of the game. But you really want to coach, and for me, that's always the thing is like, when I was teaching and doing everything like that in high school football and all that. Yeah, you can't just coach. You have to teach. You have to do administrative work. You have to do different stuff. And it was just about coaching. Then your focus can be on that. And so a lot of these coaches now are so excited because now they can spend more time with the X's and O's, with the film, with developing relationships with their position group and their rooms and everything like that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of the position coaches around the country are very excited about, with the programs that have those GMs and those scouting departments, is they can focus on their guys and developing them on and off the field.
Yeah, it's development, and they can just recruit. They don't have to worry about talking.
Yeah, money.
Yep. I was talking to a source today, and they're like, something could happen with a certain player if they can find the money for it. Which they're going to. It's just, you never, in this day and age, it's never a guarantee, because you have to look at the roster big picture. You have to look at it as, if I spend here, you're obviously taking from, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially. And that's what happens with all of this type of stuff right now. And that's the unfortunate thing, because there's no salary cap. But there's no salary cap, but there is for every university. There's a salary cap, I guess, for the profit sharing, but the collective and
teams are putting their own salary cap on themselves, and making sure that, hey, we don't want the, Jaden Ott type of situation to happen, or something like that, where they miss on a recruit or something happens to where, all right, we're going to spend X amount of dollars on running backs, X amount of dollars on a quarterback, and then also, part of your needs and everything like that. It's just almost like an NFL draft. Like, you go into the next season and you're like, okay, what's our needs? What's our board look like? Stuff like that. And you're trying to evaluate those things. And that's where that scouting department and the Jim Nagys of the world do an excellent job, is because they've done that before. They know how to evaluate that, and they know how to look at those and be like, all right, what's our wish list? Let's write it over here. All right, then what's our needs here? And then how do we meet those? And then whether it's the dollar amount, whether it's a fit, whether it's whatever it is. And so those guys can spend their time doing what they do there, and coaches can spend less time talking about money and more time developing stuff on the field.
And that is a huge dynamic of why Oklahoma's been successful this year on the field, is because they aren't having to work themselves crazy and stress themselves out over collective money, and they're just doing what they used to do. Back in 2023, Oklahoma really didn't use a lot of NIL then, and they had the number 6 class in the country. You look at 26, on the heels of a 6-7 team, not great.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they didn't start out hot on the recruiting trail in 26. But as this season progresses, you're starting to see more and more and more success in players that are committed elsewhere. And not just players, but really, really good players. Sure, there's going to be some guys that they go after that are more unheralded types that they think are fits. And I think fans have to understand that is going to be a key thing that Oklahoma does moving forward. They're going to find fits. Luckily for Oklahoma, in 2027, they don't have to go very far to find a lot of fits. Yep. Now, yes, they're doing really good in California and Arizona right now, and Utah. They're going to be very successful in those states in 27. But that's because Stacey Ford is an absolute beast
Yep.
when it comes to the West Coast. But the big deal and what's going to allow Oklahoma to have continued momentum in 27 is the fact they've got 10 or 11 dudes that they have offers that they're actively recruiting that are probably going to end up being Sooners in 2027 class.
Yeah.
And when you don't have to go very far to get, I guess, 33% or 40% of your class, and they're all top 400 kids in the country,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be pretty successful. And then you're going to be really successful on the field because of it. Every Oklahoma team that's ever been worth its salt has had a lot of Oklahoma kids that are playing because it means more to them. It just does. It just does. Like you look at 2017, 2018, think of all those Oklahoma kids that were on that roster. Think of 2021. Think of 2023. Lots of Oklahoma kids. Think of 2015. Think of
Back in the day, I mean, 08, 07, some of those kids. You got Ryan Broyles, Sam Bradford, Gerald McCoy, I mean, Teddy Lehman, even back in the day. There were so many guys that even,
Tim Duncan.
Gabe Eichert,
Gabe Eichert, Gabe Eichert. I mean, shoot, it just – they were pulling who was the running back in 2011 before he broke his leg? He was an absolute beast from Lawton.
Dominique Whaley.
Yep. I don't know. And that was the type of stuff that Bob Stoops built, and he got away from it, right? And then he went back to it because that 2017 class changed everything for the program and kept it going on forever. And it was because 2017 and 2018, OK Preps was so loaded, they just loaded up on Oklahoma kids. And rode that wave all the way into the 2020s. And that's why they were successful. So, I mean, every time Oklahoma OK Prep starts producing the way, and there's going to be like a 4 or 5 year straight period that OK Preps is going to produce insane amounts of talent. It's getting better and better every year. But, I mean, like I said, I have the luxury with my son to be around kids even in middle school and up all the way to sophomores because that kind of plays in the 7-on-7 circuit. He'll play with sophomores. He'll play in sophomore teams and stuff like that. And it is unbelievable the talent that's in the state right now. Just absurd talent.
Well, and I think everybody, automatically goes to Bixby, Carl Albert. Those are the two schools that everybody thinks of. But obviously you have the east side of the state with Jinx and Broken Arrow, Bixby, Owasso. You could go on. And then even over in the West, I think it's not as – I mean, obviously a team hasn't won it since Cale Gundy and the boys back in the day at Midwest City. But, as far as, the bigger schools. But, not only Carl Albert, but you got your stomping grounds, Mustang and teams are starting to do things there with that. And then you're even seeing NIL spread down into the high school ranks and even more so. And it's
Mustang has an NIL.
Well, I know. And so it's funny to me that, you've had over the last few years, the Kevin Sperrys and the Jaden O'Neills and stuff like that. They're moving not only in college, but they're moving to schools from high school to high school so that they could be closer to their, colleges and even just trying to, better themselves and trying to put themselves in a better situation. It's happening in high school. And I never thought, obviously me coaching and even the last couple of years is it, you never thought you'd ever see it you never thought you'd never see it in college, but it's especially, with high school and the craziness. And that's not even, scratching the surface in Oklahoma. You can look at all these other big states like Texas and a few other, states, bigger states that are, spending insane amounts of money as high school programs to get some of these kids where they're at. So,
yeah, Texas. Does Texas have NIL yet? Are they?
I can't remember, but I know that some of those schools have.
Yeah, they do
have NIL. So
they don't, but they do.
Yes.
And, Oklahoma is pretty progressive when it comes to that right now. several schools. You got Mustang, the Bigsby's of the world, Broken Arrow,
Yep.
Jinx, Tulsa. They all have collectives, if you will, right now. Like it is okay. So Texas does have NIL. They must have just gotten it because I know for a
Yeah.
bit we're lagging behind other states, but yeah, it's
Well, you remember Ohio, with Quinn Ewers. I'm like, holy cow, you're gonna
yeah.
go.
Isn't that funny that the two quarterbacks that moved to get closer to Oklahoma, where are they both going to end up?
Not at Oklahoma.
Florida State.
Yeah.
They both end up at Florida State. That I don't think you could do that scenario over again and it happens because I don't think the odds are good that takes away. Georgia with NIL, Georgia's NIL is stupid the way they do
Yeah.
things. It's absurd. But I've seen some crazy things that have taken place in Georgia, and I've seen crazy things that have taken place in Oklahoma. But
Yep.
The programs that stay ahead of the NIL and are very, very aggressive in it are going to be the ones that win.
Yeah.
Now forward. I mean, you have to play the game. It's not a coincidence that Bigsby has a 4-star offensive lineman move from Missouri
Yep.
to play with them last year.
Well, and they have 3 guys right now that have high Division I offers on their offensive line, that have some pretty, ridiculous offers out there, which,
you look at Mustang too, right? You got Jaden O'Neal, Florida State. You got Tatum Duncan, who's getting everybody and their dog offering him that safety now.
Yeah.
You've got Gabriel Osborne. Everybody's offering him Ohio State, OU, Texas A&M, Texas. Everybody wants that kid. Who else do you have on there? You've got Everson Alaska, moved from Bethany. You have Ryder Murphy, moved from Norman, really good player. You got the Johnson twins. All these guys are Division I players. You got the linebacker. I can't remember his name. Got the
Mason James, you were talking about,
Norman North.
Yep.
Yeah. North. Yeah. So, but like, I was just thinking Mustang has I think they got 9, 10 dudes that have Division offers.
Yep.
Bigsby has 9 or 10. Broken Arrow has 9 or 10. Those are the teams that are going to win moving forward. Because they're going to make sure they get the guys in every year and they're going to take care of them. And, you open up that Pandora's box, there's you can't put the toothpaste back, in the holder. No. It can't go back in the tube. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So with that, with recruiting and even things happening at the high school level, there's pressure on athletes. And I think that's overlooked sometimes is there's pressure on these athletes and everybody wants to say, oh, they're just out there trying to make money. Some of them are trying to, make a way for their families. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. There's some guys that are out there for the clout and for doing all this other stuff. And sure, whether the case is, but what kind of, mental and emotional challenges do these kids face now that weren't there 10 or 15 years ago,
They're treated like professionals.
Yep.
You add social media and NIL to it, and automatically people think that they can treat them like they're 25, 26-year-old adults.
Yep.
Even though they're 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Yes, they're making money off their brand, a brand that they've worked their ass off to get, by the way.
Yep, absolutely.
That is such a overlooked aspect of this that everybody thinks, okay, well, they're making money. They're making more money than I made at that age, so I can talk crap to them. I can say some pretty personal stuff to them behind a keyboard or whatever, and that has changed everything. Some of the stuff I've seen people say that kids have shown me through DMs and stuff, I'm like, my God. And it's because adults are jealous that these kids are making that money. And I understand the adult side as well, because you're looking at it going, what the hell, man? I worked hard. Why aren't I making that money? I mean, it's the way it is. It's unfortunately the way it is. And there's pressures. There's pressure because of NIL, to stay in state more than there ever has been. If you leave, you're now looked as a money grabbing kid that only cares about money and not you don't care about the state, you don't care about programs that you're playing for. You only care about the money part. And so that to me has made it very, very hard. And they're able to be reached in so much more easy than ever before because of social media. So like these kids are in school and they're getting blown up constantly by agents, by coaches, by fans. It's
Yep.
non-stop.
Well, and then that brings up the question. I think we talked about it earlier too, is that, with these kids and the growing pressure that they have is like, how do players know who to trust in this process? Like whether it's mom, dad, agent, or coach or whoever it is. And I think that right there is kind of the most shocking thing sometimes is I think, yes, you said these kids are getting treated like professionals because they're making this money, but we often overlook that sometimes these kids, they just want to play football. Like they just want to go out there and do their thing, but
kids.
They don't know how to deal with this pressure.
No.
Like, well, this guy said, "Oh, I can make $500,000 here," or this guy said, "I could come here and do this," or who's gonna be the voice of reason for these kids, and who are they gonna trust to help them make the right decision?
Look at what happened with David Stone. That whole situation was rough.
Yeah.
And we don't need to like harp on all that type of stuff and everything that happened, but you see the difference in who he is now that the pressure's like he's let everything. But he had to mature into that. And he had to learn who he could lean on, who he could trust that wasn't there and just with the handout, right?
Okay.
And all that type of stuff. And he's not the only player that goes through. There's so many players at OU that go through that. So many players across the college field. So many players in high school that go through that where adults are looking at, well, you're able to do this. You need to help the family do this and that. And when the reality should be, it's about the kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the kid. The kid is kids. Yeah, sure, 18-year-olds can fight in wars. Okay, cool. That still doesn't make them not kids.
Yep.
It doesn't make them not kids. Because they can physically shoot a gun doesn't make them mentally not a kid.
Yep.
You're a kid.
And a lot of times we only care about what they're doing on the field and how they're developing there, but a lot of times we miss it because they don't understand what's going on up here and how, and it's not a knock on them at all. It's just they don't know what they don't know.
Their brain's still maturing.
Yep.
Like it's still developing. And and so many adults take advantage of that.
Yep.
Like I have kids reach out to me all the time. There's multiple players at Oklahoma when they were going through the process would reach out to me and ask me, what do I think about this? And I would literally tell them, I can't give you advice on that because I'm not in your situation and I don't know what's going on in your personal life and all that type of stuff. You need to ask somebody that knows your day-to-day living. Like,
yeah,
I'm not of the mindset or of the ability.
You only hear what everybody else is telling you in their situation. Like, it's hard to relate to somebody that is, I was never a 5-star recruit. Yeah, I had a chance. I went and played college baseball, back in the day, and it wasn't what it was in 2004 that it is now. And so when people ask me, hey, I have no idea. I don't know what it is to have an NIL deal. I don't know what it is to have sponsorship. I don't know what it is to get a car and drive around and, being able to still play football and have, a house to live in. And, I can only do and give you the advice. And I've done this with some of my players that I've coached and stuff like that. I said, hey, find the people that you trust, whether it's mom, dad, brother, sister, and who knows you deep down and who has the best thing for you. And you guys figure out what you guys need as a family or as a, individual, whatever it is, and make the best decision that is going to ultimately, take you down the path that you see for yourself and do your goals line up with, what you're trying to do. are you trying to go to the NFL? Are you trying to, be a doctor? Are you trying to be, whatever? What's your degree plan? Stuff like that. And it's so hard now because you have so many things in the mix that we didn't have when we were in school,
One of those things is 7-on-7. And I can only speak from what I know right now. What I know right now, what I cover is different than what I know behind the scenes. Obviously, with my son, there are a lot of vultures, and I'm learning this. Like I was so naive. Covering recruiting, I always knew there were vultures.
Yeah.
You don't know how bad they are until you see those assholes, and I'm sorry, get into the DMs.
Different lens. Yep.
Holy crap. 7-on-7 coaches, people offering a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid stuff that, I could pull them up right now and show people and be like, look at this. Yeah. Like, just to go be a quarterback on their 7-on-7 national travel squad and stuff like that. They don't go to the parent. They go try to get the kid to go talk to mom and dad about it.
Yep.
And there's times where I get noted. People don't understand. Like, I don't really get on his stuff, but I get notified of his stuff on my phone because he's a kid.
Yep.
And we're trying to teach him proper social media etiquette and stuff like that, because that's going to be part of his brand as he gets older. And that's the other thing that you have to teach now. That's another aspect of what we're talking about, the changing lens of recruiting. I'm having to teach a 7th grader how to use social media properly, because he has to do it it's just part of it, out of sight, out of mind, and all that type of stuff. And what he's accomplished, and it's not a brag, it's what he's accomplished has allowed him to be in that world.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning as a father how dirty it is behind the scenes.
Yep.
At this age, I've got high school programs trying to get him to go places. Like, because there's open transfers in the state of Oklahoma.
Yep.
Like, that is how crazy it is. And I think some people are going to say, bullcrap. I can pull it up right now. And so, Drew, you know it because I've talked to you about it and you've seen it. So, like it is crazy the world that it is. And you're around that. You're a high school coach. So you know that's going on. And it's just, it is so different now, man. Like, these kids have so many pressures that that goes back to the pressure part.
Yep.
There's so many things that we didn't deal with that I can't. I have to lean on other people, and I do. I lean on so many other people. There are people that have gone through it that I have strictly put in charge of his stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm dad, and that's what I want to be. I don't deal with social media. I let other people deal with the social media stuff. I let him deal with it. I monitor it. I okay things. But that's about as far as it goes, because I want to be dad, and I don't understand it from this point.
I think there's not as many people, and here's a question I'll pose to you, but I don't think enough people go out and seek wise counsel, and seek the people that have been through it, and guys that and gals that are, familiar with this stuff. And so, with you seeing it not only as a parent, but obviously, going through your process as recruiting and stuff like that, what's the most common mistake you see recruits and families make during, some of these processes?
The biggest mistake is chasing the money. And not everybody has good circumstances where they're financially set. So I get chasing the money.
Yeah.
But when you're only chasing dollar signs and not chasing the good money with the good culture, no matter, it could be 7-on-7, it could be high school where you play your high school football, it could be where you play your college football. The people that trace strictly the money aspect of it never end up being super successful.
Yeah.
Never, ever end up being super successful.
Yep. And I'm sure you could go down the list with guys, and even, I mean, we can even think about it too if you stop long enough and think about it, even with guys at OU or whoever it is. But it never, like you said, it never really ends well when those guys are just chasing. I could,
Never.
come up with a certain offensive lineman that is at Missouri right now that, some people probably didn't think that, we're not going to name names or anything, but everybody knows who we're talking about. And I think instances like that, it's, that does play a factor. Absolutely. And it should, because if you have an opportunity to go make money, go do it. Like, it's the rest of your future, but at the same time, it can't be the only factor in your decision making. And I get, like you said earlier, you're talking about kids that may not have, some of the things that other kids have, like an opportunity to go to private school or an opportunity to, have a car and have your own car or your own vehicle, or being able to, have parents that can travel you around to different travel ball stuff and doing all this stuff. And I get that. And that's, by all means, try to exercise every opportunity you can to go do that. But at the same time, don't let that be the only, contributing factor.
Yep. I always say the things that can screw you up more than anything else is not being savvy with social media, teaching them early.
Yeah.
Teaching them, you can't really teach people who to trust because you don't really know who to trust either. You have so many people coming at you left and right. So I don't think that's a viable thing. But keeping their circles small enough that you don't, if there is a leech, there's minimal leeches, right?
Yeah.
Like if your circle's small. So you keep your circle small, and then you don't chase just money. I think those three things, if you are about that life with those three things, and you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of money as a high schooler and as a college player to get to that NFL level, you're going to reap the rewards and then some. You're going to get that money back tenfold.
Yep.
If you sacrificed it for the right things. And I think that is probably, to me, the biggest misnomer with people coming out. Like, there is a player, I won't say a class, but there's a player that came out of the state of Oklahoma, or could be still playing or whatever, over the next few years and all that type of stuff, that doesn't come from the greatest family background as far as financials go. And they are looking at it the right way because they have the right people around them helping them, people that
small circle. Yeah.
Small circle. The right coaches are looking out for them. The right people, as far as representation, looking out for them. Basically told them, dude, if somebody offers you 6 figures and they have good culture, you take it. You don't want to chase the biggest offer, because the biggest offer means you're going somewhere that someplace is desperate, and you're going to go somewhere that it's probably not stable, and they're trying to get you in there for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And they're listening to that type of stuff. And they did listen to that type of stuff. And the decisions were made correctly. And so that kid's going to be successful because of that. So those are the type of things you look at, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's going to be, if everybody did that, you would see a lot more successes. The transfers would be a lot smaller.
Well, and another thing too that I think a lot of people don't recognize, and even in recruiting and in the transfer portal, is a lot of these schools, especially college basketball, but college football, they're looking at the transfer portal first. They're looking for older and mature, developed kids first with needs. And so it trickles down, okay, Division I, Division II, Division III, NIA, and and so you're seeing that high school, if you're not a blue chip guy, if you're not a 4 or 5 or even a 3-star guy, some of these kids are getting left behind because
it's less than it was, though.
Yes, it is. It's starting to get better, but you still have this absurd amount of kids in the transfer portal every year that have nowhere to go, and they end up at,
East Handkerchief
East
University.
Handkerchief University or whatever it is, because they make those poor decisions because they just try to go after the money, or they just try to go after, something like that. And so I think that some of these kids need to understand, know where you're recruited, like understand your stars, understand, and some of the kids and even parents are very unrealistic about how good their kids are.
Well, it's agents.
Yep.
Yeah, the agents are the problem. Agents are the problem.
And so you're like, okay, realistically, and I've had to sit down with parents and I've had to talk through some things with parents before, and I'm saying, hey, I love your kid to death. I love what he's doing. I love this. I love that. He is not a 4 or a 5-star kid. He is not an SEC caliber player. Like, he's not. But I know some great coaches at an NAIA school in Missouri that he will get a great education, he'll get a scholarship, and he'll get an opportunity to go, play at the next level. But some people just don't want to hear that. They only want to hear, well, Johnny's good enough to play at Georgia. Well, no, because none of the coaches or none of the staff is calling Johnny. First of all, what schools are reaching out to you? Is there any schools that are interested? And that's where you got to start, chiming. Once that first offer comes in, other offers will come, and it's based on where those offers come from. And some of the time, it's hard to explain to some of these agents, some of the parents, some of the kids, even because they have such unrealistic expectations, and where they're at as kids is, hey, sometimes, Handkerchief State is good enough,
We're going to live by this in our house, and have made that very, very clear to everybody in our house. Like,
yeah.
I don't care if you get offered by SNU, and that's your only offer. I told my kid, if Southern Nazarene's your only offer, you're going to play at SNU, because you're not going to be unrealistic about it. Like, you can always work yourself to get better and to move up. You can't do that if you chase and then you end up at a place where you're not going to get the chance to play.
Yep.
You chase something and outreach where you are athletically, where you are talent-wise right now. So, yes, you have to be realistic, and I think agents do a really good job of trying to persuade parents and kids to – and the wrong agents. Like, you have professional – like agents that deal with NFL and college, right? Those are the types you want to lean on. The people that know both those arenas, because if you don't, and you get, Timmy Bob over there that's got like 2 guys that he's repped in his whole career, and they both ended up at Panhandle State, but he's promising you the world, and you're listening to him, well, that's on you. That's on you. Like, that dude's full of crap. And everybody's telling you he's full of crap and that you're probably not as good as that guy's telling you that he is. I know you want to believe that.
Yep.
But he's just trying to get all the money. He probably is telling you, give me $3,000 up front, man. You'll never have to pay for anything ever again. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. But at the end of the day, if you get a degree from SNU, you did get a degree from UCO, or I don't know, Amarillo State. I don't know. I'm just making up. But
I'll tell you what, though, if there's kids getting offers from UCO and nowhere else, I'm going to freaking UCO. I don't know if you've seen their facilities and things lately. That's a dang good school to go to,
Yeah, alumni base.
Yeah.
And if you play football at those schools, that alumni base is going to help you more than they're going to help the regular Jimmy and Jane that's going to school there.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the way it is. So you have an up. You have an advantage. You have steps ahead. Go get that degree. Go do what you can do at whatever the hell level it is.
Yep. And
just be happy with it. If one of my kids gets offered and that's the only offer they get, hell yes. And everybody can hate on it. Oh, well, Drumm's kid make it that far. Don't care.
No.
He's going to school for free, going to get a degree, and he's going to get an alumni base that's going to help him out because he's going to school. That's really all that matters to us.
Well, and he's building his future. He's got a foundation.
Exactly. That's all it is.
And greater things can happen from there. And like you said earlier, I've seen plenty of stories where guys have obviously walk-ons are a little less prevalent now that you don't really
Yeah.
have any, but there's so many stories out there of guys that have started and there's a one of the and we'll just go to this one right here because it's a good one, but the hidden gem stories, guys that have flew under the radar with no stars or with no things and have ended up at great places or had good NFL careers and stuff like that. I don't have one specifically, but I mean, you could just name
Wes,
off, you know, Wes
that's
Welker, like,
the easiest one ever. Played against him for 3 years.
yeah, like,
I watched it. It could never. They had this guy by the name of George Bull that was really good. They had this quarterback that I don't know, man. He was really good musician named Graham Colton.
yeah,
And they had this guy by the name of they had Trey Holloway as well, and they had Wes Welker, and played against all of them. Picked off Graham a couple times. His brother Garrett and I were friends growing up, so we would always mess around and joke about it. And I've known the Welker family for a while, and they're good people, man. Like Wes is an interesting story because I went to camps with him and always would see him show out, and all these people would say, too short, too small. And I'm sitting there going, this dude kicked, I kid you not, against us. And this was my sophomore year. We weren't very good. But we were my junior and senior year. We actually beat them my junior and senior year and broke their 27-game win streak, actually. But my sophomore season, this dude kicks a 50, Baker Mayfield, 55-yard field goal, has a punt return for 80 yards against us, runs one in, and has a pick six all in the same against us. That's what? And you can't offer that, dude? Like, the dude ended up being, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He kicked a field goal multiple times in the NFL. Like, who does that? Who does that? And he flew completely under the radar. Mike Leach offered him because they had to have something. They were short at wide receiver. They took him on a flyer and ended up being the best decision. Leach.
And I mean, Texas Tech has been known for it because you had like Danny Amendola, another one that was, guy that didn't really get highly recruited. If you're really
Baker Amendola, you had Patrick Mahomes.
I'll even give one that's more local that, I mean, wasn't a highly talented guy out of high school, but ended up winning a Heisman Trophy. Sam Bradford, was a 3-star guy coming out of high school. He was a stud at every sport he did and still is. But football, though, I mean, he wasn't – nobody could tell me. And if you could, you got a crystal ball in your lap or whatever. But you couldn't sit there and tell me his sophomore year you could predict that dude was going to win a Heisman Trophy when he got to college.
Like, Chuck Long thought that. Chuck Long literally thought that.
Yeah.
Chuck Long thought he was going to be amazing.
It takes one guy. It takes one school. It takes one,
And that's the other thing. That's perfect because, that's something I tell people all the time. I'm like, so Jaden Johnson from Mustangs going through this right now, Jacoby's twin brother. Yep. The dude had 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons in a row in 6A1. Mind you, his quarterback, 2 of those years, the kid's a really good athlete. I'm not trying to hate on him. He's a tight end playing, and he's at NEO now, but he's a tight end playing quarterback. And so he has Jayden O'Neal. He's having a fantastic – he's had an unbelievable season, by the way. But he runs a 4.5. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. But because of the 2 years prior, he's not getting looked at the way that he should. He has 0 Division I offers right now. He's 6'1", 185, runs a 4.5 40, runs a 10.8 100-meter. Has had 3 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons in 6A1 against Division I FBS talent every week. And he has 0 FBS offers.
Yeah, it's wild.
But
and
one school is going to offer him before national signing day. You watch it. One's going to offer him. That's all it's going to take, and he's going to have a great career because of it. But that's all it takes is one. It takes one. Michael Jordan said it at the end of The Last Dance. It takes one person to light a match, and the flame grows.
Yep.
And that's all it takes as far as offering goes. One person. to light that match, and you never know what's going to happen with your career moving forward because of it. That's all it takes. So I always challenge families never to get too down, because it's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. That's easier said than done.
Yep.
But
well, a lot of times it's a microwave society where people just want it instant right now, whether it's money, gratification, likes, followers, whatever the case is. And I think you have to be going about it the right way and understanding what do you want out of the process. Like, what is your end goal? Is it to get a great education, play football? Is it, hey, I want to go to the NFL? What's the best situation that's going to get you there?
Yeah, and you have to bundle everything up into a bag and make sure everything that's in that bag works for you. Because if there's one thing in there that doesn't, that's something that could trickle and ruin everything else that was working for you. So your situation always has to be perfect for you. Everything has to be perfect. Not perfect in the sense of nothing ever goes wrong, but perfect in the sense of if things do go wrong, you have the support system to help you get through those situations, whether it's coaches, whether it's teammates, whether it's family. Something's got to be there for you to help you get through everything, because you're going through a period of life that you need that. It's such a pivotal point in your life that you need whatever you can have around you that's going to help you grow as a person and fight through whatever you're going through. Because nothing ever is going to be perfect as far as situations go. But it can be
there's always going to be some type of adversity,
Yep.
no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at. And, for me, the reason why, yes, I love coaching. I love the X's and O's. I love scheming things up and calling good plays and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, for me, I get more of a thrill out of seeing my former players doing something with their lives, getting married, having kids, starting a family, having a great career. Yes, some have played high level college football. Some, hung up their cleats after senior night. It all depends. But, for me, I just want to, and my hope is that, kids make the right decisions, and at the end of the day, they go on to have a great future in whatever it is they do. If they continue to have, a playing career into the NFL and have a, 15-year career, so be it. But more often than not, that's not the case. And you still need a foundation and something to fall back on.
Yep.
So, but hey, we've been at it for like over an hour, and we could still go for a while. But let's wrap up by telling us what you got going on over at OUinsider, and we'll put this thing to bed for the night.
Yeah, got a lot of notes going on. Got the Gentry Williams stuff. Obviously, people are upset about that, which I get. I mean, hate it for the kid.
Well, that kid, I mean, he's no matter what, and you talked about adversity, and he's still, no matter what happens, he's always going to try to overcome it. Like, it's been unbelievable to see him, through this process, not giving up and continuing to, battle through it.
He's breaking a little bit. I know him very, very well.
Yeah.
Breaking a little bit, but I mean, like, was told that he's gonna fight through it, and this was just freak, man. Like, this dude, it's not the same shoulder. It's not like it's just can't buy a break, man.
Yep.
Can't buy a break.
Yeah, I thought Parker tweeted it out earlier. I saw, his thing is that, some guys, man, it's tough. You can't catch a break, and I know it's tough seeing that. And guys like Nick Anderson at LSU, and some other things like that too, is just it's but it's a story. I know at the end of it, I know none of those guys want to hear it now, but it's a heck of a learning experience for somebody else that you can teach your story.
What defines him today won't be what defines him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think he understands that more than anybody else. So, yeah, we got that. Talking about that on our board. We got so much recruiting. I dropped a huge thing of 26, 27. There's a lot of flip stuff going on right now, so there's a lot of notes going on there. Parker, Steve Wilfong, myself, Adam Gorney, Sam Spiegelman. Who else dropped notes today? There's so many. Like we had a bunch of notes on OU Insider today.
Yep.
And then obviously Jesse Crittenden with a bunch of team stuff. Brody Lusk with a bunch of basketball information. Basketball's heating up. We're leaving tomorrow morning for to cover the game, obviously. So we'll be down there and we'll have all that for everybody over there on OUinsider.com. It's $1 the first week. And yeah, go to OUinsider.com and join.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you like always. I know we stay in touch. We try to you talk, and it's almost never about OU recruiting. It's always about something else or what you're doing or things like that. Because I personally, now if I have a question to ask, I'll try to get some juice every once in a while. But most of the time, it's like, hey man, what have you been up to, or hey, how's Drumm throwing the ball, and how making sure he's staying healthy. And I know funny story to end, that was back in the summer I was coaching and doing some stuff at the OU camps this summer, and old guy was just out there just slinging it around, and then he ended up in the talk about adversity, ended up in one of the championship games against a stacked squad with a bunch of Heritage Hall kids and different stuff like that.
They're 7-on-7.
Yeah,
we're all the same team. My son had nothing but offensive linemen on his team.
And so he's out there, man, and I'm like over there, and I'm not even really reffing the game. I'm just standing over there with a couple of guys, and you could tell he's getting frustrated every time he's throwing, and goes back to the huddle. I said, dude, just keep playing, like keep moving. And you could tell he wasn't the only one. There's other guys out there, and it's fun to always go and see those kids and how they're doing. But he's got a special talent. I know he's going to do a lot of good things in the future, but not only him, but a lot of those kids, and they work hard, and they generally love the game. And that's another thing too, is that you got to love the game if you're going to go through all this stuff. And so it's always good to talk to you. I know we got a lot of people on here. I appreciate you guys joining us. It has been by far, this is episode 3 of the new podcast, and this has been by far the biggest crowd that we've had. So if you haven't yet, go like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you to our new sponsor, Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, Toyota of Ardmore, Jeremy Hodge Chevy GMC, and the new dealership, Jeremy Hodge Honda in Ardmore. Take the drive down. Pre-owned, brand new, doesn't matter. Hodge has it. So for me, Brandon, you guys have a safe trip to Tuscaloosa, and hopefully we come back with a dub, because that'd be huge.
Be nice. I would love for Oklahoma to win that game.
2 in a row against Bama. Wouldn't that be something?
Something. It would be something.
Yeah. So, no, appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back again next week.